You probably think McDonald's makes most of its money by selling burgers, but that's not really the whole story. Behind the Big Macs, French fries, drive-thrus, and Happy Meals is a business model that is much more interesting. McDonald's has built a huge global franchise network, and real estate plays a surprisingly important role in how that network makes money. In fact, in 2025, around 95% of McDonald's restaurants worldwide were franchised, and McDonald's reported $16.5 billion in revenue from franchised restaurants. But here's the really interesting part. Of that $16.5 billion, about $10.4 billion came from rent. Yes, rent. So how does a fast food company become one of the world's most powerful restaurant businesses by collecting rent? Let's break it down. Imagine you want to open a McDonald's restaurant. You might think you simply pay McDonald's for the right to use the logo and sell hamburgers. But in many conventional franchise arrangements, the relationship is much deeper. McDonald's generally owns or secures a long-term lease on the land and building. The franchisee then invests in things like the equipment, signs, seating, and restaurant decor. The franchisee operates the restaurant, and McDonald's collects money through rent and royalties. That creates a very interesting relationship. The franchisee is responsible for running the restaurant, but McDonald's can control the location and collect income from the property. So McDonald's isn't just building a food brand, it's building a network of strategically located commercial properties. And those locations can generate revenue for decades. Think about your local McDonald's. It probably isn't sitting in the middle of nowhere. It might be next to a major road, near a shopping center, close to an airport, or in an area with thousands of potential customers passing by every day. For a restaurant, location can make or break the business, and McDonald's understands this extremely well. Instead of simply letting every franchisee choose whatever property they want, McDonald's can maintain significant control over where restaurants operate. That means the company isn't just building a restaurant brand, it's building a network of strategically located properties. And that can be incredibly valuable. Now here's where the model gets even more interesting. Running a restaurant is expensive. You need employees, food, equipment, maintenance, marketing, utilities, and someone has to deal with the day-to-day problems. McDonald's doesn't want to operate every restaurant itself. Instead, it lets franchisees do much of that work. The franchisee puts money into the restaurant and runs the operation. If the restaurant performs well, the franchisee makes money, and McDonald's gets rent and royalties. So McDonald's can expand its restaurant network without having to operate every single location itself. That's one of the reasons franchising is so powerful. Let's look at the numbers. In 2025, McDonald's generated about $26.9 billion in total revenue. Of that, $16.5 billion came from franchised restaurants. And within that franchised restaurant revenue, about $10.4 billion came from rent. About $6 billion came from royalties, and around $88 million came from initial franchise fees. So rent alone represented the majority of McDonald's franchised restaurant revenue. And this is where the real estate company idea comes from. McDonald's isn't simply making money when someone buys a burger. It can make money from the location where that burger is sold. Of course, McDonald's doesn't simply collect rent for free. Owning and controlling real estate costs money. The company has property, buildings, and leases that require investment and maintenance. In 2025, McDonald's reported approximately $22.8 billion in net property and equipment under franchise arrangements, including about $7.1 billion of land. So this isn't some magic trick. McDonald's has invested enormous amounts of capital into its property network. But the important idea is what happens after the restaurant is established. A franchisee operates the restaurant. Customers generate sales, the franchisee pays rent and royalties. And McDonald's can potentially continue collecting those payments for years. That creates a recurring revenue model around physical locations. Now imagine two companies. Company A owns restaurants and operates all of them itself. Every restaurant requires employees, food, management, and operational resources. Company B has a large franchise network. Thousands of entrepreneurs operate the restaurants. Company B still earns money from the network through rent and royalties. The second model can potentially generate much more predictable cash flow with less direct involvement in restaurant operations. And that's exactly why McDonald's heavily emphasizes franchising. The company's own annual report describes its heavily franchised model as being designed to generate stable and predictable revenue. In other words, McDonald's isn't just selling food, it's selling a system, a brand, a location, a franchise, and access to one of the world's most recognizable restaurant networks. So, is McDonald's actually a real estate company? Not exactly. McDonald's is still a restaurant and franchising company, but real estate is a crucial part of its business model, and that's what makes the company so interesting. The burger is what the customer sees. The franchise is what the entrepreneur buys. But the real estate can be one of the most important assets behind the entire system. And that's a lesson that goes far beyond McDonald's. Some of the world's most successful businesses aren't necessarily making money from the thing customers think they're buying. Sometimes, the real business is hidden underneath. So the next time you drive past a McDonald's, don't just think about the burger. Think about the land underneath it. Because that location may be doing something much more important for McDonald's than simply providing a place to sell fries. It may be part of a decades-long business machine built around franchises, rent, royalties, and real estate. And that may be one of the smartest parts of the McDonald's business model.